Good morning and welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with Mr. G. And I'm actually doing it in the morning. But it is Wednesday, August. Where did October come from? Wednesday, August 17th. And it is the 20th week of Ordinary Time. And it is the feast day of Saint Beatrice of Silva. And she was around in the, I think it was 1490s. Or was it 490s? I don't know if I cut it off or not, but anyway, Saint Beatrice of Silva. She was around. She was from Portugal, and she became a foundress of the monastic Order of the Immaculate Conception of Our Lady, and she founded that in Spain. And the way that it all came to be about, it's kind of a longer process, I guess, but she was one of 11 children, and then eventually, as she got older, she was raised in a castle with King John II of Castile and the Queen of Castile and Leon. But anyway, she became a good and close friend to the Queen, in which the Queen even supported her founding of the Conceptionist prior to the Order of the Immaculate Conception of Our Lady. But she grew in great beauty, and the Queen ended up becoming aroused by irrational jealousy. So by Saint Beatrice's beauty, the Queen had her imprisoned in a tiny cell. And then while she was incarcerated, Beatrice experienced an apparition of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And then she was instructed by Mary to found a new order in Mary's honor. So there we go. So Saint Beatrice of Silva is the patron saint of prisoners, which I'm sure she can relate to Paul a lot. But anyway, today's gospel is from Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 through 16. Let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit, amen. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with them for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. Going out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You too go into my vineyard, and I will give you what is just." So they went off, and he went out again around noon, and around 3 o'clock, and did likewise. Going out about 5 o'clock, he found others standing around, and said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You too go into my vineyard." When it was evening, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Summon the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and ending with the first." When those who had started about 5 o'clock came, each received the usual daily wage. So when the first came, they thought that they would receive more, but each of them also got the usual wage. And on receiving it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last ones worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who bore the day's burden and the heat." He said to one of them in reply, "My friend, I am not cheating you. Did you not agree with me for the daily wage, the usual daily wage? Take what is yours and go. What if I wish to give this last one the same as you? Or am I not free to do as I wish with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous? Thus the last will be first, and the first will be last." You can't help but appreciate Matthew's gospel here. Whenever yesterday he talked about the rich young man, about how it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. But yesterday's gospel, the very last verse was, "But many who are first will be last, and the last will be first." Then the last verse of this section of the workers in the vineyard says, "Thus the last will be first, and the first will be last." It's like Jesus, through Matthew's gospel, is constantly trying to get us to realize that we must humble ourselves and that we must put ourselves last. in life, because even though they were talking about how money is evil, kind of in a way, if we allow it to be yesterday, we see this landowner who has plenty of money being super generous with it. So God does place good people or money in good people's hands to do good with it. But that's where we got to make sure that our hearts are centered and geared towards virtue and goodness. But then we also see the human element here of jealousy, because it is also very wise in the approach of the landowner that he made sure that the person who worked first, or that came to work last, what am I doing? The people that he hired last actually received their payment first, because he wanted to teach them what it means to be generous and to be loving and to just not think that we have to earn God's love. Because how many of us think that we need to do or put in extra hours, pray longer? That is all good. But none of us have to earn God's love. That's why he died on the cross for us. But we should be striving to become better and better each day and be generous like this landowner. And also not be jealous of others and get trapped in that comparison. Because one of the phrases that I've used many times is comparison is the thief of all joy. So it's a matter of controlling our emotions, tempering our emotions, and looking at people with charity as a beloved son and daughter of God, as opposed to selfishly looking at ourselves and thinking of ourselves in our own situation and thinking that we put in more time, effort, and we had to endure the day's burden and the heat. So how is it, what is it that we can do today so that we can be last, so that eventually one day, hopefully God willing, we can enter the kingdom of heaven and be first. Have a great day. God bless. Keep it real. In the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen.